On October 28th at around 2 p.m., these waters got really aggressive and then a storm surge ensued. Now, if you look around, you will see how it immediately impacted the buildings that were closest to the sea. So let's look at this building right here. This is the commercial side of Black River. And it tore down all the walls, it tore down all the doors. And if you look right in there, you will see how the water just came in. And it brought with it the stones, and it brought with it all the rubbles. And this is what we're looking at now. We're actually at ground zero, right, for Hurricane Melissa. Now, Black River was hit with a rage of a Category 5 hurricane. Now, let's look at even that boat that was manhandled by the hurricane, right? I mean, all you can see is rubble. That's all you're seeing right now is rubble. I'm going to take you through to some of the areas so you can get an idea of, you know, what it now looks like, you know, a couple weeks after the hurricane. Now, many people, many businesses have been displaced. This place will never come back to what it was once, right? That's for certain. I mean, it has been floored. I can't make out any of the landmarks. Like, I mean, I could tell you where the courthouse is probably the only one and the Anglican Church, but everywhere else, nothing is happening. Now, 2 days or probably a day after, right, this entire place was cut out, locked off from the rest of Jamaica. So they were running short of food. They don't have no water to this day, no electricity to this day. It was total chaos. Looting started to ensue because people wanted to get basic food items to eat. So let me just show you what was happening. Now, beneath me is a bunch of sand, rubble, things even coming in from the sea. This is one of the stores. People pried open this store. People pried open this right here. So pried open to just figure out what they could get, come inside and get. Now, even when you come inside and you're looking at things, all you're seeing are rocks from the sea. This is what you're seeing when you're walking into one of these stores, just rocks from the sea. You're seeing the panels them. I guess this place used to sell clothes. There was a TV mounted to that wall. That TV no longer exists. And yeah, it was a closed place, right? Now, the owner may have taken some precautionary measures by putting in some tarpaulin, because I see torn tarpaulin right there, good? But none of that could stop what was to come. Now, you could see where chunks of walls were just broken to pieces. So if you look right there, those are chunks of walls that were just torn down by the strength of the water that came in here. So this is no joke. Oh, by the way, you know, Kareem's Quest loves to give you authentic Jamaican experiences. Please subscribe to my channel. You know what I mean? I really do appreciate it. It makes a big difference, especially for content creators like myself who are bringing substantive content to you. You know, we don't get the push that the algorithm gives to people who do a lot of, you know, nonsensical things, right? So your support and your subscription means a lot, all right? So it's free. Click that subscribe button, click the like as well, and then comment and share, right? Anybody who you think might need these things, comment and share. Now, I'm also encouraging people to don't stop giving, you know what I mean? Even if you can't give now, just keep packing a barrel. Keep packing a barrel. So this is one of the stores. Now let's look at even the AC unit, which was ripped to shreds. This is the AC unit right here, ripped to shreds from this store, right? People were just in basic survival mode. And you look and you're just seeing people pried even open this grill right here was pried open. See it there, so from there, you know, this is what happens when you're stranded, and it's like the scene of an apocalyptic movie. You know what I mean? If you ever watch any of those apocalyptic movie, this is what this feels like. Now, an ATM machine was here. The ATM machine is gone, right? So they moved with the ATM machine and nobody troubled the AC. I don't know if nobody thought of that, but they moved with this ATM machine right here. This was another closed store and everything was just demolished, right? It's a rough spot to be in. nobody, I guess, and the grill work for this, I guess nobody could get into this place. So, you know what I mean, this place, nobody seemed to have been able to invade it. And sometimes, you know, you want to even look at some of the grill people who are some of the people who do the workmanship for some places that can withstand something like this and find out, you know, who could do it. Now, this place also sold here. And you can see here, this is female here, that they would have, you know, cater to the female market. And you can see all of those things. Now, for some owners, right, some people are clear the debris to the best of their ability. And there's one place over there where they're trying to clear the debris from now, you know what I mean, to try kind of just get some semblance of normalcy. Now, there's a backhoe that I see in a building as well that is trying to do, you know, some work in there. So it is not the easiest of things. We're seeing telephone pole lines that are down. These were the telephone poles that they had used to replace the older one, the board ones, and these I believe are the cement ones, and they were uprooted. So the force of the surge, like even look at this place right here, everything was pushed out. The force of the water pushed out everything right here. You know what I mean? It was not the easiest of things to have experienced. You must have been extremely frightened. Now, you hear me speaking like this because the air is filled with a lot of dust. Down here, it's a lot of dust down here, right? It is not easy. The spirits of the people are not high. We passed the hospital. The hospital, I mean, was just devastated. I can't imagine what it was like for patients who are on the wards and who were probably just finished doing a surgery and in pain. Right now, the clinic and the medical center is really what they're trying to, you know, use to tend to people who are ill in this community. We spoke with a doctor. They are operating under a tent, right? Not the ideal circumstances, but they're trying to meet the needs of the people to the best of their abilities. Now, you can see transformers that are underground. You can tell that this town is without electricity, without anything. I mean, and this is the livelihood of so many people. This is the livelihood of so many people. This is jobs that you're talking about. This is business. You know, this people homes. Like, we went to somewhere today and it was just covered. We went to a place called New River in St. Elizabeth. It was just covered, and I don't know how much of our tasks we can get done today because we're giving away some packages to some specific families who we are close with, and we're trying to get to as far as Savannah Lamar. We don't know if we're going to get there, but we're going to try. Now, Sunrise Bakery, if you have ever been to Black River before, this is one of the best cocoa bread that you can ever have when you're in Black River at Sunrise Bakery. And this is what remains now of Sunrise Bakery. Now, they for certain looted this place, right? So this right here was pried open by force. That's when the fridge completely empty out. The shelves are completely empty out. Again, hours after the hurricane, people had nothing to eat. So, of course, people had to just figure out how they can access things to get food to eat. But in its heyday, you know, which was just a couple weeks ago, this is a place that you come and get your pastry and you get some of the best cocoa bread that you can buy, right? So anybody who is familiar with this area know that this is, you know, one of the staples of the area that you would come to and you would come and support and see them have them. Yeah, you all have your big tree, you know what I mean? You have your serving quarters them there, so needless to say, it's devastating. A lot of people are still out here giving out a lot of support. When we pass the Black River High School, you have a field hospital that was set up there. Good, so that is very good that it can meet the needs of the people. Them. You have another place, I forget what it name, but it just opened and this guy lent out his establishment as a drop-off center for people to come, and you can, you know, you give your goods them, and we saw people getting food and little kids getting food, and you know, that's so beautiful that in this we can show some level of humanity. Now, this place didn't stand a chance. If the hurricane forces didn't destroy it, then the looters definitely did a number on it. And you have to remember, Black River was cut off. Holland, you couldn't pass Holland Bamboo. So these people were without any assistance for close to 24 hours. Nothing. No food, no light, no water, nothing, right? None of them don't even have their houses. They have been all damaged and, you know, mangled, and it's not the easiest of things. So let me show you what some of the rubble look like. And these places would have been like staples. Now, you would have thought to yourself that is an earthquake that created all of this damage right here. This wasn't created by any earthquake whatsoever. This is just water coming in. This is just water coming and destroying this place. You understand where I come from? So, you know, when you see how much destruction took place, it must have been frightening. You understand? Because if you live here, so, and you're seeing how that water rose to, some people say like 18 feet. I don't know. I mean, we're all speculating, right? Could have been more. The winds were very strong. It's a category 5, right? It's the strongest registered, well, to the best of my knowledge, in the history, right? So it's just devastating and heart-wrenching. I mean, clearly, I personally don't see any rebuilding coming out of this. I think you have to move the city way inward. You're going to have to move the city way inward because there is no rebuilding that can necessarily take place after this, right? To how hard things are. So, you know, it's a rough experience. Let me see if I can, where else I can take you. All right, so we are going to go back in that direction, all right? So there isn't any rebuilding I see taking place, right? Yeah, man. So you have workmen who are here now. One workman same thing, him going to be stuck over here because this is not a day's work. Also, when you're here, you have to be very careful how you step because there are a lot of nails on the ground. So for those of you who want to send stuff, let me just tell you some things that you can send. You see those heavy duty gloves? You can send down heavy duty gloves. All right. Things like tarpaulin, you can send down. Things like nails, you can send down. All of these things are things that you can send down to help out a bunch of people, right? I mean, the store owners have to be coming and salvaging whatever little they can of their stores, right? You might say one carpet you can salvage, you know what I mean? Things like the TVs and, you know, the fridge and things like that, they're all gone, right? This is a hair place and you can see extensions, hair extensions all over the place. You look at the different markets, and if you look at some of the roofs, you can see which one went down. Now, we are going to have a whole different set of building requirements that has to come out of this, because even though the city will have to be built inland more, the building requirements have to be more rigid. Because what happened for certain is that the concrete buildings definitely held up better than the board buildings, right? So we have to be aware that there are certain buildings that are not going to hold up. And the concrete buildings, they're not going to hold up. So what I'm seeing now is that a lot of owners are also out in their numbers and they're trying to salvage a bunch of stuff, right? Because this is the chance where they get to clear up their stores, you know what I mean? They get to pick up back things, just a lot of stuff. So this was a ATM machine. This one went immediately because the town was without cash, literal cash. So there's no cash to buy things. And things like water has become gold. Things like water is like, you know, a scarce commodity. And everybody needs water. So that's something that, you know, even when we were coming out, people asked us to constantly bring water, right? There are people who are just gazing at the sea, still in disbelief. So there are people still out there who are looking out at the sea, still in disbelief of, you know, what has taken place and the level of destruction that it has caused, especially if you were living here on a day-to-day basis and you'd have seen these streets in better days. It's hard to fathom now where it is at and what it is at. Now, at a time like this, these streets would have been filled with like the school children, and the vendors would have been out on this corridor right here, right? And they would have just finished school and they would have been laughing and telling jokes and purchasing and supporting the vendors. And now we have all of this rubble all of this garbage. I'm walking around and there's just so much plastic bags and plastic bottles, and it's just one big garbage heap. That's what I'm seeing, and that's the best way I can describe all of this to you. It's just literally one big garbage heap. It's hard to fathom, you know what I mean, where it came from and where it's at now. A lot of dust is being blown. People are trying to cover up them face. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a lot to deal with, you know what I mean? And boy, sometimes it doesn't even leave me speechless, to be frank. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime, and I hope to never see anything like this again, right? In terms of destruction. Now, from a health standpoint, all of this is hazardous because you have a lot of stagnant water that's still on the street. The buildings, the safety, the structure of the buildings, I don't know. You know, a lot of these buildings, though, the brick and mortar one like this one, it still stood up, right? And it was able to withstand gale forces. So, you know, there are some things that, I don't know, I guess you have to figure out what you can take away from all of this, and, you know, what can we learn from all of this in the entire rebuilding process. Now, behind me is the famous Anglican Church. And that church was built in the 1700s. And, I mean, parts of it withstood, but a large part of it is totally unrecognizable. Let's see how close we can get to that church so I can show you, right? Not the easiest of things. I can smell like even dead rat. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can smell certain things, right? You can see people trying to clear up some rubble because of, yeah, definitely smell like dead rat. So, you know, because of all of these things, it's just been a hard thing for so many people, right? You can look at my extensive road chat video on Black River after Hurricane Melissa, and you'll get to see where I'm driving around this entire place and I'm showing you what these places are. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's the hardest thing. So even for the church that is right there, that church was once a prominent landmark. Whenever you came here, somebody would tell you that, hey, you know, I'm at the Anglican Church, and you knew exactly where they were. Now that church is, apart from one tower, it's totally demolished, right? And I mean, it has such a long history because some of the yellow bricks that were used to build that church was brought directly from England. They literally imported it. So they took needless to say, they took a lot of pride in it. It's a rough place to be right now, and even for the business owners who would have invested so much money in developing this area, developing their business, developing their brand, they no longer have a store. You know, I'm looking at a dining place like this right here, so which is a centerpiece variety store, right? Well, it's not necessarily dining, but to have different things that it offers. Complete rubble. You know, it's a complete rubble. If you're looking here, everything right now is unrecognizable. I don't know where you start, you know, or what you even do with something like this. Some people say, well, what about insurance? And I'm like, yeah, but how much insurance can be paid out and at what time and in what timely manner? Where do you move from, you know, in places like these? And these places provided employment for so many persons in Black River. They don't have a job now. They don't have a house. They don't have a roof. You know what I mean? We stopped one place and the house was like, it was basically inundated with water. And we saw somebody just walking in the water onto the veranda. And you could see the despondent look on his face. And, you know, we just asked him, what do you want? And he said, boy, you know, we just want, give me some water. And his neighbor, when I asked her what she wanted, she said, we don't want no water, but she's hungry. And her child is hungry, and she have 2 kids, and they're both hungry. And I was like, you know, so we had to find food for them. And, you know, even though we came down with the aim of dropping things off to specific families, I mean, we still have to be sharing out, you know, as best as we can and proportioning out things as best as we can. So, you know, needless to say, I don't foresee any more building that will take place along this coastal line. I think all the building would lead inward. All the building will lead inward. because that's just the safer place that we have to be now, right? We really just have to go inward and take things, you know, right there. But this is where it all started. It started on this water, and this is the ship that is partially submerged now. It started on this water. This is the southwestern end of Jamaica, and at about 2 o'clock, October 28th, 2025, these waters became extremely aggressive, rising to unprecedented heights, slashing against the buildings, slashing against all of the walls, and creating all this rubble, bringing with it elements of the sea onto the land, inward in the land. The people were just running for refuge inward. I mean, a lot of people were so scared, and it happened for a prolonged period of time. We're talking about not just an hour, because one of the sad things about it, even though the wind speed was like, you know, 184 miles per hour, I believe, right? What happened was that the hurricane itself moved very slowly. So it stayed for a long while, and we were hoping that the hurricane would have moved fast. So even though the speeds were that strong, the wind speeds were that strong, the hurricane would have moved fast, and then, you know, I mean, it wouldn't have caused so much catastrophe. But because it was so slow in its movement, it ravished this place. It literally floored Black River. As usual, please continue to subscribe to Kareem's Quest. It means a lot to me. You can also go to my website, kareemsquest.com, where you can read the latest updates on the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa and Jamaica. I post constantly, and you can also view me on any social media platform. As usual, you're always welcome to join the quest.